Hey everybody, how you doing? This is Pastor Steve, and you are on Chilling with the Pastor. We are right now in the editor's room, and this is that time where we talk about this last video, and we had that interview with Pastor Leticia Preacely at Duncan Chappell United Methodist Church. Dude, what do you think about that one?
That was a good one.
Yeah?
That was by far, no, I can't even say the longest one, because Harris was the longest one, but this one was definitely a close second. It was at least a good 2 hours.
Oh man. Yeah,
If
we
that.
had some really long but nice conversation. Let's go ahead and put this out there first. When we say long, we're not complaining about it at all.
Right.
We love being able to sit down and talk about Jesus.
Yeah.
But the more important thing in all that is we like talking about other people's experiences with Jesus Christ and their walk and their journey and how they've come to know him and just operate inside of his love, his grace, his mercy, all that stuff.
Yep.
So it's definitely not a bad thing.
Right.
We love long videos. But what stood out to you in this conversation?
Oh man, I mean, there was just so much information and so much to learn from her and her life and her walk with God and how she got to the point that she's at now. Oh man, I know, especially with the first question, when the guy become real to her. Remember, she said he became real to her when she was 10, which is like a really, really young age. I know I identify with that because I was brought up in the church anyway, so I've never not known God. I do remember I was baptized at 6. So I understand, that walk with God, learning about him and his love from that young age. So I definitely was kind of like, okay, so, that young age. Right.
I can relate.
I know one thing I didn't know about her, I didn't know that she was a coda, a child of a deaf adult. So, I've met her one other time before this at a SBC 21 function. I forgot which one it was.
It was probably year before last, if I'm correct. I think it was the very first one.
Yeah.
It was the very first one. We had a nice amount of people with that. If you don't know what SBC 21 means, it's strengthening the black church for the 21st century. But yeah, I think it was a year before last, I want to say.
Yeah, it was
that one.
Yeah. But, yeah, so I kind of met her and passed, hi, see, I'm Chris, how you doing? But it was good to, sit down and have a conversation with her, learn more about her life, her background, how she got to where she's at now. So
certainly,
I did like that. I know she also mentioned in her interview that a lot of stuff was going on at home, how her grand, she called her, kind of was like, oh, come back to New York with me, She tried to get her out of the situation she was in. She's kind of like, no. And then her grand told her that, okay, look, I prayed to God. He told me to come and get you and bring you back. And then she said at that moment, she felt the conviction to stop fighting and finally say, okay, I'm going to go. Right. And like that was kind of like, wow. Like, not that I don't believe that could happen, but that she listened to God in that moment. Tell you, okay, this is what you need to do. You need to go.
Right. I think it's important too, even in that, is that though it was her grandmother that was bringing it to her and told her what she said, about what God told her to do, in that she still heard God through her grandmother and received conviction for it.
Right.
Yeah. And this is at a young age still.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean that's amazing in itself that someone so young was capable of hearing the voice of God the way she was. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You think about those stories like with Samuel, where God called Samuel at a very young age, and those things, that took place in the Bible. But to hear about a real life, like in front of me, flesh and blood person speaking about God, speaking to them at a very young age, and they respond. That's awesome. That's cool.
And then also in that situation where she did finally say, okay, I'm going, and she went, every time she would hear back from home, it'd always be that negative, oh, this is this and that. So I remember she's mentioned that she finally, like she even said, with a heavy heart, she went to God and prayed and said, okay, God, next time I hear from home, I want it to be good news. And sure enough, next time she heard from home, it was good news that the situation that she had got out of was starting to change and it was getting better, even though it had previously was supposed to be better, something always backtrack and go back, but this time it ended up working out for the good. So it was kind of like she saw God working through her through that situation, and it kind of brought it to.
And the amazing part of that part of the story too was that it took for her to get up and leave. God pulling her out for the situation to change. Like we sometimes find or find ourselves thinking that if we're in the midst of a situation, if we're in the midst of those circumstances with people fighting in the trenches or something of that nature, if we're there, things will change. But in this situation, it didn't change until she left.
Right.
That was pretty awesome in itself there.
Yeah.
But going and kind of going a little deeper into the conversation, what else kind of stood out to you?
Oh man, definitely in the second part with the second question. I can't remember the exact question, but I know she was talking about
how do you differentiate between grace, extending grace to others, and loving others?
Yeah, that yeah.
Yeah, because that was a question I was waiting on somebody to answer. I remember that.
Yeah, she definitely broke it down. I know something that she had gone through. I think she broke it into 4 different sections. It was family, associates, acquaintances, and assignments. And it's like we all have family, we all have people we associate with. We all have like those acquaintances who say, "Hey, how you doing? Keep it moving." Right. And then she said that we have assignments, and those assignments are just people that are in your life for a season.
Right.
And like I know I've experienced those type of people where it's kind of like, I might think they're one thing, but they end up being something else. Right. Or I put all of this into them, and then it's kind of like, oh, something else happened. It's kind of like, kind of stuck wondering like, okay, but like, stuff isn't adding up, and like you're kind of feeling off. Right. And I know like when that came up, I know I was really, which I mean I listen all the time, but it's kind of like, it's kind of like, hold up, wait a minute, this is starting to speak to God. Let me listen more intently. Let me take some notes.
Yeah, we have those situations too, right?
But yeah, and it's but definitely, I know like the key phrase that I remember her saying was, you pour into them, but they don't pour into you. And it's kind of like, even though that's not what you want, because you kind of want it to be equally yoked, like you want to give them so much and they need to give you so much. Sometimes you have to carry that burden for them to get to the place they're supposed to be. And you just have to be okay with that and come to terms that that's just your role in that person's life in that moment. Because even though you might not get what you wanted from it, they got what they needed from it, and God put you in their life for that reason. Exactly. And I mean, it's just leading where you need to go. Like, you may go somewhere else after that,
right? And
God's trying to prepare you for where you're supposed to go next. So He put you in that moment to do what you needed to do, and then brought you out of that moment so you can learn what you need to learn to keep going on the path that He's put in front of you.
Yeah. I mean, I found myself constantly doing this at my church too, but it's just like Jeremiah 29:11, how it says God knows the plans that He made for you, made for your life, the plans He has for you to prosper you and not to bring you down and not to destroy you. You know what I'm saying? And this all happened before you were formed in the womb,
right?
Like, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, that's just, God is so awesome to me. That's why I use that word a lot, though. Awesome. It's just whenever I'm talking about anything that has to do with Jesus Christ, awesome is like the key phrase for me. You know what I'm saying? It's like Sesame Street. Okay, today's word is awesome. Today's word is awesome because we're talking about Jesus Christ. We're talking about God, the creator of the universe. But I love how you said being equally yoked. It's not something that's just a relationship thing. Right. I mean, it's a relationship thing, not just between boyfriend and girlfriend. It's just in a relationship period. Being equally yoked, it definitely changes things. Yeah. And if you're not, then that may be the sign that it's just meant to be an assignment. Yeah. It may be the sign that that person is just meant to be an acquaintance. It's so amazing. And honestly, even in the midst of the conversation, in listening to her give that explanation, I'm just gonna say that when I formulated the question, I kind of imagined it going in a completely different direction than what it did.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't even realize that she drew out those 4 points like that until you just brought it up. Like, yeah, she did. I mean, it was almost like she put an outline together, like, you know, in the way she answered the question, and it made complete and total and perfect sense. But that was definitely awesome for the first episode, for part 1. I will say that this by this point, you know, in this journey that we've embarked on with Callers Off, it's gotten very interesting at this point.
Yep.
It's gotten very interesting at this point for me, and man, it's been pretty awesome just being able to do this way. You know, as God has called me to do it, and I just reach out to you, ask you, hey, can you help me edit? Oh man, I'm there. What? Okay, so this is how the journey began, and God ordained a journey. But part 1, that was part 1 that you all just got. Part 2, you gotta stay tuned for it. It's coming up. Part 2 will be on, what was that, the 17th of January?
Yes.
That's my internal calendar. And on the 17th of January at noon, be watching out for that. Part 2 with Pastor Leticia is definitely, it's no different than the first one. It's a very interesting conversation. She's a very engaging young woman of God that kind of pulls you into her story, you know, and it's been awesome. Just kind of re-listening to some of the things that she said from that day. It's like I have, you know, kind of a good recall for conversation, but when you hear it again, it's like, wow, okay, I know I heard it, but now I'm hearing it. You know, you know what I'm saying? Like I heard what she said, but I'm starting to hear this now. Like, wow, that was God in the midst of that conversation for sure.
Definitely.
For sure. This has been fun so far, folks. We still got part 2 with Leticia coming up. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a very good one. It's not going to pull any stops on you. I'm just going to go back to the very first video we did and saying that there's plenty of good nuggets in that video there, okay? There's some good nuggets in part 2 as well. So with that all being said, please make sure you go ahead, if you haven't already, click the subscribe button down below. And after you hit that bell notification so you'll be notified when new content has been uploaded into our channel. I'm going to ask you to do a little bit more this time too. Share it with a friend. You never know. She might be talking about something that somebody that you know is experiencing right now and hearing a testimony from someone else. Not just because she's a pastor, but just because she's a Christian on this journey as well. It may help to strengthen them and bring them to a place of really getting to know God in a way that they hadn't known him before. Happy New Year. God bless. Is there anything you want to say?
Peace.
Peace.